I've been seeing a lot of videos lately on the internet talking about the what appears to be the upcoming end times for the American empire, how the United States is in the, at least the middle phases of its decline into nothing. And because we've seen several empires that came before us follow the same fate, it seems natural to assume that that's the way it's going to end up going for us. And I think if we were in any other point in history, that would be an absolutely reasonable thing to assume. And even given what I'm about to say in this video, it's still kind of reasonable to assume it. We are debasing our currency. We are withdrawing from the world to a large degree because we're tired of being the world police. And, there's just a lot to suggest that America is on the decline and we aren't the power that we used to be. I think that's absolutely fair. Those are absolutely fair statements to make. However, unlike especially the empires that were mentioned in this video, Spain, Great Britain, the Soviet Union, we are living in a very different time now. And to be perfectly honest with you, America as it exists today is really nothing like the Roman Empire back in the time that it lived. Yes, it was a superpower in the context of the ancient world, but their ability to reach out and touch someone the way that we can it's not even on the same planet, basically. When you look at something like the collapsing of an economy as large as the United States, and I'm not an economist, so I'm just going to speak from a basic, plain common sense standpoint, not from I have specific training in this stuff and you should listen to me. I'm just putting out what I think about it and you can take it and run with it or set it aside as you please. So let me be very clear. I'm not stating facts from an expert standpoint. I'm looking at the world and I see things in a certain way and here's how I see it. You can agree with me or disagree with me. America is a very different animal from any of the empires that came before us. You have several different aspects of our society and the power base that we have that are just fundamentally different from every other empire that came before. The Romans ruled through power and fear, which for the most part, that's pretty much how America rules. And that's how the rest of the world sees us for the most part, especially if you're an enemy of the United States. We rule through power and fear. But the citizenry of this country also believe in certain principles that previous empires gave up on and gave up on relatively quickly. The Roman Empire ended up failing because it had emperors who took over and made everything go the way that it went that way. Because rather than the people making decisions on how things go, you get people who go up into high positions of authority, they corrupt the system, they take control, and then things go the way that they go. Which is, objectively, the way that America has been going for quite a while. We've had rich people taking over the country. They're corrupting our politics. We're putting people in power who are under the control of these people, and that's the way that it goes. And it's easy to see the parallel. But I also kind of believe that there is a resilience to the American mindset that may not be over yet. And while, yes, we are watching as the patterns of the past seem to be repeating themselves here in the United States, I think that the claims of imminent collapse that a lot of people are starting to lean on, within the next few years, are a bit overstated. Because while, yes, we are struggling to balance our economy and to fix the problems that we've allowed to crop up over the last 50 years or so, we still have, by far, the biggest economy in the world. Right? Like, by a large margin. I mean, I know it's not many orders of magnitude than China at this point, but, overall, yeah, we don't have production, but we have value in many other places than just production, in intellectual property and things like that. I mean, we have a lot of stuff that we have going for us. And because we are still the world leaders in the most important fields in the world, it's going to be a long time before anybody is able to supplant the United States in that regard. And because we have, the largest military, we have a larger military than the top 10 or something like that countries combined, nobody's going to be able to come in and force us to do anything. So when you start looking at currency devaluation and all of the things that the economists are looking at and saying, oh man, this is a massive problem. It is. It is a massive problem. But at the same time, we have the power to just kind of just do what we want. And, nobody wants to say that because it makes us sound, like might makes right and all of that. But at the same time, when it comes to survival and having to make decisions that are best for your country, then you do what you got to do. And if that means, hey, sorry we owe you, but things just aren't going well for us. So you're just going to have to sit back and wait until we figure our stuff out. And that's just the end of it. Sorry. What are they going to do? They can't come and attack us. They have no chance of even putting up a mediocre fight against us. They're just not going to do it. And any of the other nations that have nuclear capabilities know that they will be destroyed many more times over than any of the damage that they can do to us. We no longer have the threat of the Soviet Union with its thousands upon thousands of nuclear warheads that it can fire at us. We have smaller opponents with much smaller militaries with far less nuclear capability than used to exist. And the only way they could do anything even close to what the USSR could have done back in the day would be for all of them to team up and simultaneously attack us all at once. And if you've seen any of those videos that talk about what would it be like if the rest of the world went against the United States, you know what a futile exercise that would be. So I think it pays to be pragmatic about the future. Understand that things are changing. Our AI is changing the landscape of battlefields and of economics and the way that things work. Understand that while yes, the economy is not doing what we want it to do, and it doesn't seem like things are going to go the way that we want them to go, I don't know that it's going to turn into the catastrophic thing that videos like this are trying to get us to believe that they will. Because you can do whatever you want with currency, really, if everybody just agrees that that's how we're going to do it. And if the United States decides, hey, we're just going to implement this new solution to make so that now currency works in a way that doesn't cause us to just go off a cliff economically, and everybody just kind of buys into it. The government says, hey, this is what we're going to do. Everybody needs to just treat it this way, and they can convince enough of us to just do that. Well, then, inflation, deflation, blah, 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 blah. We're just going to change it so that that's not a problem anymore. And as long as everybody agrees to go along with it, then it works. It just kind of is what it is. We are already in the process of bringing manufacturing back to the United States. It may not be, human people doing manufacturing, but we are trying to reestablish our dominance in the world as far as building stuff here. Because we are understanding that our relationship with the rest of the world is changing, and it's changing in a way that is not in our favor. And if we have to continue to rely on other countries to build the things that we need to keep our daily lives running, then that's just not going to work. And you can't just sit back as that happens. Now, there's always going to be parasites on the system that are going to manipulate things in a way that makes it advantageous for them. It doesn't matter what system you live in. There's always going to be that. So a lot of the decisions that get made in the near future are going to skew things towards the rich people, the powerful people, the people who make the decisions. But at the same time, until AI gets to the point where they just don't need the rest of us anymore, they still have to make decisions that don't screw the rest of us over to the point where we just uprise and fight back against them and have another American Revolution. So my thoughts on the future are that our biggest danger, I think, is AI, and AI reaching the point where either AI decides it doesn't need us anymore and goes all Skynet on us, or the rich people decide that they don't need us anymore and go all Skynet on us. That would be the biggest thing that I would be worrying about, because currency is one of those things where it has value because we decide it has value. And it has the value that it has because we decide it has the value that it has. And all we have to do is just decide that, you know what, let's just flip a switch and change our currency system so that it fixes itself in a way that we just all decide that this is how it's going to be now. And we don't have to go through the crazy, ridiculous economic crap that economists are predicting that we're going to go through. Is that what we're going to do? Probably, because we're not going to be able to come together enough to actually make sure that it goes this way. But it is possible to just decide that we're going to fix it. Overnight, we could just change our currency system. The experts can look at it and say, all right, all we have to do is this, 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 and this. Let's do that right now, be done with it, and then it's fixed. You can do that. You just have to convince enough people to go along with that, and that's the hard part. So I don't know that America necessarily has to go through a massive economic collapse, because we can just decide not to. It's our infighting against each other, left versus right, religious versus non-religious, blah, 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 blah. All these things that we keep coming at each other's throats for, that causes it to be something that's really hard to do. And that's a decision that each of us has to make on our own. So that's why I wanted to say, again, this is just my opinion. This is how I think it works, because it just makes sense that it should be able to work that way. There are a lot of forces that could prevent it from working that way. But if we choose to just fix it, then it can be fixed. We just have to convince enough people to do it. So thanks for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers, and I'll see you for the next one.